as I get into a piece, why would I want to look at this image? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like, what do I know what makes this image interesting for me? Now, maybe other people don't like it. Maybe they don't agree with it, but at least for myself, I ask myself that, how can I add something to this image that makes this better than it was, or than it was originally concepted. As a matter of fact, I did that with my last, like Jake said, we took 5 weeks off, hadn't painted in a long time. Saw an egret at my local little pond. I do a walk every morning when I wake up. And it was just a really great shot it with my iPhone. And it's just a great shot, just naturally, this egret against this dark background. It's a perfect silhouetted shape. So it already fit all the art requirements, like it's shape separation, it's good composition, it's a simple image. And then I got back home and I sort of sketched it, and I was like, oh man, that just needs, it's a good image, but it's not enough to be that interesting. And so I came up with this, the egret looks sort of stubborn almost in the way that they were posed. And so I just came up with this funny little, not funny, but this little narrative around it, with this little character kind of trying to rein this egret. You can see it on my Instagram page if you guys want to see it. But I'm not saying it's great art, but at least I asked myself, what is interesting about this egret? And the answer was nothing. Like it's just it fulfills some art requirements, good composition, good shape separation, and all that stuff. But it didn't really work. You just needed something more. And I think if enough people ask them, like I see so many children's book illustrators, they got the story about the bunny making cookies, and it's just so boring. It's like the most standard kids book stories, but there's nothing really that interesting about it. So I don't know, make the checklist and then try to elevate the image. And you can do that through a analytical process, like Jake's saying, like a learned process to walk through. Is the composition good? Are my values correct for what I'm trying to do? And then what's my concept, and why would someone find it interesting?
Yeah. Cool.
There's 4 things that we haven't talked about yet in this question. This is our best question of the day
so far,
I think.
I don't judge questions because they're all good. But whatever.
So the first one is I'll start out with a little story. When I was going to school at BYU in the illustration program, I got put on probation I didn't get let into the program, the BFA program. I got let in on probation, meaning I had 1 semester to prove myself. And I thought that I was in the top half of the class. And so it was really embarrassing to look at the list on the door. So there was 40 people applying, and they were going to take 20. So I'm like, well, I got the cut. I know that, but I was listed. There were 18 people listed, and then there were 2 under provisional. I'm like, what the heck does that mean, provisional? And it was me and Walt Wilcox, and he's a friend, so he won't mind me telling this story. And I was thinking, how in the world could you lump me in with him? He sucks. Like, this is even more embarrassing that it was me and him. And come to find out years later, he thought the same thing
right
of me.
I'm with Will Terry. He sucks.
Right.
That's great.
And so, but the thing is, I have always been convinced that I didn't belong there. Right. And maybe I did. But I think that there's something to be said for confidence, overconfidence in your ability. I think that's a trait that I see in a lot of artists, is that a lot of successful artists they just have this confidence that if they can't, they'll figure it out. If they're not good at it now, they will be later. Right. And so I think that that's a necessary thing. If you're, and likewise, and here's why I say this, I've had students that were literally 10 times better than I was when I was in school, the best in the class. I'm thinking of a specific girl right now, and you tell them how good they are. I'm like telling this girl, like, you have the best shot at making it that I've ever seen. Like, she was amazing. And as soon as she got out of school, nothing. She didn't do anything with it at all. And I wonder, she used to always, oh no, I just don't know if I can do this,
And you don't know if that's like from
think it was
within
false
or from
model.
outside. You know, it could
Yeah,
be that
yeah.
there's people in our life that are like, you're an artist. You're going to try
Right.
and make a
I
go
have
at
no
it.
idea.
Okay.
The next thing I think is humility. I think as an artist, you have to have enough humility along with that confidence to say, teach me.
Yeah.
I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. I need to know more. And there are a lot of students that I've taught that are so resistant to doing what you tell them to do
Mm-hmm.
that they pound the same sand every day, doing the same mistakes. And you look at them and you're like, you're not learning. And I think it's because they have they lack the humility to grow and to thrive, right? I mean,
Mhm.
like when you and I first started teaching, I asked for your drawovers because I wanted to see what you would do different, and I learned a lot from you. The next one is necessity. I think that a lot of people don't they don't need the money. They're supported by a parent or a spouse or somehow, or they're and they
Or a
don't
day
have
job.
a day job, and they don't have the necessity. I had to do it, which actually ironically goes to a question that we skipped today that we see all the time, which was that question was, I don't have the motivation. How do I get the motivation? In a nutshell,
Mhm.
I'm not motivated. I want this career, but I don't know how to get going. I don't know how to draw. I don't know. And we skipped that question because I said, I don't know. I've tried to answer that one before, and I've never had that. I've always had enough necessity to where it's like, I will be hanging drywall or doing concrete work or plumbing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm not good at anything else. So if I don't make this work, I'm doing something that I really don't want to do.
Right.
So I always just kind of got busy, and that's really my answer to that question. And then the last one on my little list that I just made here is aesthetics. I think that really good artists, that might be the thing that's within you. It's hard to teach aesthetic, but as you're creating art, there are things that you need to edit out. There are things that you need to omit that you can't. It's hard to train. You can to an extent, but no. And then there are students I've taught that you say, who are your heroes, and they show you the art that they're looking at, and it's horrible.
That's
And if
tough.
you know, and so then you're like, well, if your pedestal item is what most artists would look at and go, no, that's not good. Where do you go from there? I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good list.
It's a great list,
I'm jealous of your list. All right. Sufficiently answered, I would say that question is.